A lot of these cost savings on the state level have been pushed back on the local government.
The savings we're getting from the prisons are being put in the local communities. You should call Gary Moore about that.
Well, but you know, we had a story here a couple of weeks ago where, you know, our county sheriff and, you know, others in the local law enforcement community basically said, in changing the, you know, these sentencing guidelines, okay, instead of putting these people in prison, you're going to push them back into the county jails.
Right. Well, again, I'm telling you that Gary Moore set money aside to help build these facilities. So you should call Gary. Well,
it's not so much building the facilities.
It's the whole thing. It's building them, maintaining them, all that. You need to talk to Gary. Yeah. He will give you the details. We didn't do it and say you're on your own. He has a program whereby they will be helped to do what needs to be done here. And again, you know, this is a case where I just don't agree with that. Now, will there be some, you know, will we have to go back and maybe tweak something there? Maybe. But I know sticking people, you know, who are nonviolent offenders next to murderers and rapists is not good for Ohio. And I also know that the biggest reason why we didn't do sentencing reform had political implications. People being said they were soft on crime. And if you look at the vote on sentencing reform in the House and the Senate, it was overwhelmingly positive. I don't know if it was almost unanimous, House and Senate. You know, a lot of people say everything's polarized. Well, sentencing reform is a perfect example of where Republicans and Democrats work together. I'll give you another one. We even had bipartisan support for Jobs Ohio in the Senate. We had overwhelming bipartisan support on prescription drug abuse. You know, I tell you, I'm not here to tell you that we fix this problem, but what I can tell you is the reporter from the Portsmouth paper in Scioto County told me we'd close 7 out of 9 pill mills. We are making progress on that. Orman Hall's doing a great job, but we're going to have a lot of people, get a lot more farther to go. But that's an example where, you know, it was on a bipartisan basis. I'm shocked that I came in to inherit a system where we were not at war with pill mills and prescription drug providers, you know, abusers, and those who contribute to that. I mean, I'm amazed that this sat around. But there's a lot of things that sat around. Prison sentencing reform sat around. Medicaid reform with nursing homes sat around. Construction reform, prevailing wage. I mean, all this just sat there. I'm not telling you, you know, I just think that's good work. And it's not just me. It's, first of all, my staff, my cabinet, and the legislature. You know, I work very, very closely with Batch and Niehaus. I have a working relationship with Cafaro. I've been out with her in her district, and trying to build one really with the Democrat leader in the House. So, but you should talk to Gary Moore because it's a legitimate. You raise a good point.
Because I mean, you know, the local implication is, you know, that where apparently in Ashland County years ago, before they had their new jail, was, you know, people sit on waiting lists to do their time for, you know, nonviolent things like DUIs.
Well, not everybody has to be in that kind of a setting. Some people can be restrained in their own home. I mean, there's a variety of ways you deal with people who break the law. You know, if it's a check kiter, you know, you might deal with them differently than. You know, I don't want to get into the details of who we're going to put there, but Gary Moore can tell you, and I really would encourage you to talk to him. He's a real star in our administration. In fact, not only is he a star in our administration, he's being looked at all around the country for the kind of things that we've done with prisons and prison reform. This is a very tough problem. You know that, right? The population in the prisons just exploding, which leads you to, and when he came in, he saw they eliminated unit management in the prison. So I'm not a prison expert here, but he is, and he changed all that, and things are better as a result of it. At least they appear right now to be better. He's really a great thinker. I talked to Bill Bratton, who used to be the police chief of New York City and L.A. and, you know, I don't know if you remember him. He was out taming the gangs out in Los Angeles. I called him up. He wrote a book that I read. I said, "What do we do about prisons?" He said, "No one's figured it out." I think we're beginning to figure it out. In fact, I talked to another governor and said, "You ought to check in with what we're doing." But we'll get you Gary Moore to. Rob, make sure we have him call, because I don't want to just let that lay there.
Pension reform's been around a long time too. Why wait on that? Why postpone? Why not deal with it earlier in the year?
Because I have a million things I'm trying to do. Everything has to have its priorities, and all parties will have to come to the table to get that done.